Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And have you got that special vehicle in your heart that made you first truly feel that you fell in love with World of Tanks? Well, for me, it's got to be the Tier 9 German heavy tank. It is the E75. This was the first ever Tier 9 vehicle I played way back, I guess in 2011. And today we've got the pleasure of watching Kurtap Prime from the European server showing you some of the best E75 gameplay I have ever seen. So the E75, why did I fall in love with it all of those years ago? Well, when I first started playing World of Tanks, I was like a stereotypical scrub lord, right? Thinking, Tiger, want to go for the Tiger. But by the time that I got the Tiger, which I wasn't exactly grinding through World of Tanks super quickly to begin with, I was getting a variety of vehicles rather than just rushing up a tech tree back in 2011. Whereas now when a new tech tree is released, I'm just like, whoop, straight up to tier 10. But that would make sense, as I've played pretty much everything inside the game, apart from the Clan Wars tanks, and I know my way around them, so it's looking for those new vehicles. But back in the day, you just felt like this, it was impossible to be able to go up all of the tech trees at the same time, because of how hard it was to be able to grind through. And so when I finally managed to reach the E75, and I know that this wasn't even the original Tier 9 German medium tank, which was the VK4502B, and this was an extension or a change of the tech tree that led on from the Tiger II, where originally the Tiger II led on to the VK4502B, which led on towards the mouse. So I was a little bit slow. Originally I thought I was going for the mouse, and then I eventually decided to change and go for the E100, and I have no regrets for that, as that was a great tier 10. So when I first got this tank, the reason why I loved it so much is because unlike the Tiger II, the hull armor was just absolutely wonderful, which meant that you could really bully your opponents. When you got into those matchups against, I think you could meet tier 6 tanks back in the day against this, you really felt like you were super powerful. And I guess I just wanted to feel like I was actually good at a game or good at the game back then. And so I didn't really have that kind of vibe of, oh, I want the game to be challenging and I want it to all be fair for the players that I'm going to be playing against and whatnot. I guess I just had that vibe of I want to go in and just win the battle and have like a Top Gun, or, you know, have that kind of huge round that you lust after. Whereas now these days, oh yeah, I know how that feels, Kurtap Prime, a bit of bad RNG there. That's been happening to me for the last 13 years now, right? But yeah, now I feel like I don't want to just have a good game. I want to have a good game when I'm either bottom tier. I want to have a good game when I'm playing a really bad tank and I have to beat that overpowered vehicle or that like Clan Wars reward tank on the enemy team to really scratch that itch, put yourself at a disadvantage and go for a Collar Battles medal. But back in the day, I think things were a lot more simple for me. As long as I just had a good game where I did a lot of damage, got a few kills, this or that, I think that was just that was special for me. And it's probably what's special for a lot of people still these days. And just because people like me who've been playing this game a little bit too seriously and a little bit too long, and the reasons why I enjoy the game and the reasons why I play the game, I guess, from that regard, to be able to get that dopamine hit have changed, it doesn't mean that it has to be that way for everyone. So the E75, just having that hull armor really did make me realize that it's not just about the Tiger II, where the Tiger II rewarded you a little bit for side scraping, it rewarded you a little bit for using that angled armor, and rewarded you for only exposing your turret, unlike the Tiger at tier 7, which was just this vehicle with just a big box of hit points and a really good gun, right? When I got the E75, I realized, yo, if I angle my armor really well, I can actually completely negate the offensive capabilities of the vehicle in front of me. Not all of them, not the equal and higher tier tanks. But you've got to also remember back in the day that tanks used to have way lower pen and nobody could fire gold rounds without actually firing gold. So it made the German heavy tanks way more brutal because everyone was firing standard rounds. It just felt like you could just drive around and be the German behemoth as you're kind of, shouting out, I guess, Deutschland, right? As loudly as you can. I guess if you're the quintessential German gamer, right? And even if you're not, even if you're just a British man, or I guess I was still a man. Weird when I think about when I started playing this game. When did it came out? 2011? How old was I? Like 24 or something? Something like that. I guess I would consider, although, you know, when you look back at yourself at how you work on like 13 years ago, you probably consider yourself to be a boy. And sometimes I still think that I'm a boy now. Or at least sometimes my YouTube comments are still like that. When is Kubi gonna get a real job? He sits around like a 15-year-old still playing video games. Well, dude, I hope I never grow up within that regard. But, alas, I digress. I should get back to the matter at hand. And that is that, yeah, you did feel like this absolute German tanks, big armor, bounce everything in front of you and smash them. And luckily for Kurtap Prime here, he's dealing with an E75 who has a stock gun and isn't willing to fire any gold at this vehicle. So far, Kurtap Prime has had a great game. 4,000 damage, great for any tier 9 tank. But let me tell you, ladies and gents, this game is only getting started as Kurtap Prime finishes off the enemy E75, showing them that the big gun really does make a world of difference on this vehicle. Interestingly enough, the T49 on the enemy team, who's using the derp gun and fires gold, fails to be able to do any damage. I guess maybe the track's absorbing there, or maybe the T49 just missed the vehicle altogether. And these days, HE doesn't splash, and so if you miss the vehicle and only hit the tracks, that is not going to do a lot. Now, this game, as you might notice, there's quite a few patterns on the enemy team, I would say. And this happened during the period of when the patterns were released to the end of last year, when there were a lot of them in the matchmaker. So let me clarify, this is one of those outrageous kinds of matchups, and this is the perfect kind of tank to play against a load of Pattern the Tanks, right? Pattern the Tanks, not firing gold, not knowing exactly where to aim, inexperienced players playing at tiers that they're not really meant to play. And I think Kurtap Prime is doing exactly the right thing by taking out his E75 on a day like this. So, one Pattern the Tank on full health approaches Kurtap here. They're now down by 5,000 hit points in this game in a 2 versus 5 scenario. And with a full health Pattern the Tank, Kurtap, who has only been firing standard rounds, I believe, so far this game, is being quite an economical player. They're using, in my opinion, the perfect setup. Small repair kit, small med kit, and chocolate to be able to get that 10% extra crew skill. Oh, there's that cheeky T49 from earlier. Kurtap realizes that the E75 has a big, old, thick booty, and that the T49 is unable to deal with him. And this Pattern bounces off the gun, and Kurtap finishes them off so they don't have to waste the extra shell against the Pattern tank that, albeit, was actually ammo-racked there. Now, unfortunately, Kurtap Prime loses 40 hit points, which now means they're pretty much a one-shot for all of the enemy vehicles apart from the T49. But with that crushing blow, now up to 4 kills and 7,700 damage. Chill out, Kurtap. You're making me feel bad that this was like my first love in World of Tanks, and I don't think I've ever really had a game like this in the E75. Although, this vehicle still to this day holds my kill record in World of Tanks, which was 12 in a single battle, which I'm happy about considering it was at tier 9. And I'm almost happy that it hasn't really been replaced with some kind of low tier Scrub Lord tank. Ooh, talk about low tier, or shall I say low roll there. The broken gun, unfortunately, on the E75 with no armor or skill, meaning that Kurtap misses the shot on the side of the Pattern. And now, outnumbered 4-1, down 4,000 hit points and being a one-shot against multiple vehicles that have pretty much most of their hit points left, we're going to have to see something really special here for Kurtap to be able to handle this. So Kurtap's decided that they don't want to chase the T49 any longer, expecting the T49 to come behind them. And there we go. The T49 actually fires a standard heat round there, rather unusual for a vehicle to have standard heat rounds. But Kurtap bounces that. It's only got 150 millimeters of pen, so easy for the E75 to be able to ricochet. And now, reducing their 1 versus 4 into a 1 versus 3. Okay, so the T49 clearly finds where Kurtap is, and so that means that now the 2 Patterns and the TNHV-Z51 are going to make their moves. And wow, look, TNHV-Z51, what are you doing, sir, up in that position? Now, Kurtap's got to be careful, because if he leaves these buildings, he quite rightly realizes it. He's going to expose himself to the side and allow the Patterns to be able to get shots in. So now he's just locked down in this horribly awkward scenario. But there's another one of Pattern the Tanks. Okay, so we know one's in the cap circle, one's down below coming to try and join up with the TNHV-Z51. And the worst thing that Kurtap could do right now is to play slowly and allow the Pattern to come and join, because if the TNHV-Z51 and the Pattern join at the same time, they're going to be able to flank Kurtap and finish him off. And then the 313 hit points that Kurtap has left will mean nothing but, whoa, what is this? Oh no, Kurtap fluffs the shot in the excitement of the TNHV-Z51 taking a swing at them. And now they're going to have to go forwards, backwards, bait the shell, hope that the VZ51 misses. And they do! They put a gold round that ricochets off the turret. Also, Kurtap avoiding the Pattern, getting the shot in from the side. And now, what is Kurtap going to do? Are they using the single shotgun? Are they using the autoloader right now? It's hard to be able to tell, but Kurtap, oh, clutch shot there. Right against a very small cupola on the top of the TNHV-Z51, now putting their damage total over 9,000. But Kurtap is going to have to do a lot more. pretty much 3,000 more if they're going to want to take this game down. Okay, so Pat in the tank was spotted down below. They're on roughly about 80% hit points. The other Pat in the tank was last spotted with about 80% of their hit points as well inside the cap circle. And with 1 minute and 50 seconds left, Kurtap has to be a little bit careful here. If the two Pat in the tanks join up inside the cap circle, that will give him less than a minute to be able to react to the situation and be able to get back into this game. So now he's going to just slide his way down the slope, make his way across, and see if they can be able to deal with this pattern that's inside the cap circle. There could be a pattern on the right, but Kurtap realizes you have to risk it in this scenario. You have to go after the enemy vehicles when you are outnumbered 2 to 1 and they have 10 times more your hit points. It doesn't matter if you've done 9,000 damage. You can always see if you can get a little bit more and continue to risk and risk and risk to get back into this game. So there we go, Pat in the tank right in front. Kurtap decides not to fire clutch at the side of the pattern in case the pattern then decides to flank them. But they've got to put 3 shots in, which is roughly going to take about 28 seconds to get these shells against the pattern before the other one comes. So the pattern looks like he was wanting to be able to try and flank. Kurtap's over-angling their armor maybe just a little bit, but luckily it's still a good bait, mate. Pat in the tank fails to fire up above, shooting the tracks, failing to go through Kurtap's decent side armor of 120 millimeters. And now Kurtap puts another one into the lower plate, pushing their advantage against Pat in the tank. Pat in the tank looking around as if, where's the other pattern? Where are they going to come and help me? While Kurtap just pushes forwards. Now over 10,000 damage dealt, and Pat in the tank on the enemy team is starting to look like they are burrowing their way further and further around the corner. And funnily enough, they can actually go all the way around there if it's needed. But oh, wow. Pat in the tank fails their shot. Kurtap Prime doesn't follow up by failing theirs. It manages to spot out the sole remaining vehicle on the enemy team. 10,000 damage, 7 frags, but there is the Radley Walters medal staring right in front of them. Now, interestingly, the enemy Pat in the tank is using a durability device, which means that Kurtap is going to have to roll decently if they want to remove them in 3 shells. And I love that Kurtap still has players on their team basking in the glory of this wonderful E75 game, as Honkill is 42, says, man, you are the player, and then emphasizes the player once again with a follow-up message. And you know what? I agree. Kurtap Prime is the player of this battle, having possibly the best game I've ever seen in E75, but it won't mean anything if they aren't able to finish this one off. So Kurtap realizes with a pattern above, just gotta hope that you're gonna get the 3 shots in here. You've got to be careful they're not firing heat down on the top of your turret, but the upper hull here should be able to still handle the heat rounds, which is 300, but no. Whoa, that is the shot and the roll that you want. 590 damage now means that Kurtap only has to hit this pattern 3 times. Now, this is such a weird position. Angling your hull up will make your lower plate weaker, but by not actually angling your hull up completely, that means that the pattern's going to have a much harder time of going through the lower plate. Kurtap unfortunately whiffs the shell, meaning they're going to have to fire 2 more times against Pat in the tank, and unable to get the shell in quick enough to be able to reload. Oh my word, the tension is palpable as Kurtap Prime needs 2 more shells with 1 minute and 18 seconds left on this game of World of Tanks. Can we even call this a game? It's more of a tour de force. It's a performance of probably one of the best performances ever in the E75. Now at 11,000 damage dealt, but Kurtap Prime is going to have to do 923 more if they want to take this one down. Now the time is running out. The sirens blare. Tick tock, tick tock. What are you going to do, Kurtap? Just hope that the pattern's going to poke. Hope that the pattern's going to go for the shot. Right in. 512. 2 decent rolls now mean that Pat and the tank should be a 1-shot, and they shoot right through the side. They're only damaging the tracks, I believe, of the E75. And now Kurtap Prime has 30 seconds left to hope. They only have enough time to reload at most twice. They're looking for the shot, finding the angle. This is it, boys and girls. 20 seconds left. 19, 18. Will the pattern poke again? They do, but oh my word, it's so close. Kurtap fires and manages to hit the shell with 10 seconds left on this game. They take down the mother of all carries at tier 9, nearly 12,000 damage dealt in the E75, and 8 kills, destroying half of the enemy team, gives them a Radley Walters medal. Kurtap Prime. This was an epic game of World of Tanks, and irrelevant of the fact that you definitely farmed a lot of Pattern the Tanks that were maybe or maybe not played by players who are usually there at tier 9. I don't care. This was still an epic performance. You did everything right. I loved the way you pushed the tempo. You took your chances. You took your risks. You put yourself in the correct situation and the position. And the way that you used that E75 armor just reminded me of why I fell in love with this vehicle back in the day. It was that feeling of knowing that if you use your armor correctly, you can negate the enemy's offensive capabilities. And that is what a German tank is about. That, and yeah, it helps when you get a big old 128mm on this vehicle as well. Back in the day, this gun used to hit for 490. Now with the 530, this thing is one of those tanks that was released in the first year of the game that still absolutely slaps in 2024. And you know what? This was just perfect. This was Kurtap Prime's third mark of excellent as well on the E75. I mean, what a game to get your third mark in, right? This was 2,248 base experience. They had to do more damage than pretty much the rest of their team combined. It was only the Contracaro Honkill who was calling Kurtap Prime the guy in this battle who also had a decent round. And while Kurtap fired a bunch of gold rounds, they still make a cool 100,000 credits profit as they fired all of those standard rounds before they had to dip into the gold. So love that efficiency there as well. And that Steel War medal for blocking 5,820 damage, enough to destroy this vehicle nearly 3 times over. That is why I fell in love with this tank back in the day. And irrelevant of how much gold is spammed at the E75 these days, it's a different game. We can sit there and we can QQ and we can cry about the fact that all of those years ago gold was made available for credits. But even still, to this day, with all of that gold spam, which does do very well against German tanks, this vehicle still has the 3rd best win ratio difference of any of the tech tree vehicles. So, 13 years after this vehicle first went into the game, it still gets 2 thumbs up from me, and it's totally worth still playing. So, Kurtap Prime, congratulations to you on this mammoth game of World of Tanks, and thank you so much for uploading it onto the What Replays website. It did make me feel that spark of joy that I felt when I first played this tank nearly 13 years ago. I really appreciate it. Congratulations to you on this just ridiculous round. Irrelevant of the amount of Pattern the Tanks that you had to destroy to be able to get there. It was beautiful stuff. So, I really hope all of you enjoyed this replay, and I hope you felt like I did it justice with my commentary. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below, what was the tank that you first fell in love with and why? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.